Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your April 1st through the 15th, 2019 general reading. So we're looking at the first half of April here. Welcome to everybody, newcomers, welcome back, followers and subscribers. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. And for those of you who send in your support, feedback, and comments. Thanks to all of my clients out there, regular and new, for the busyness with personal one-on-one readings. If any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me, live or recorded, you can get more info and contact details by clicking on the description link below or going to my YouTube channel's homepage and clicking on the little About button there. You can email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I can usually respond to your initial request within the first 24 hours. And scheduling is pretty good too. I do readings full-time, 5 to 6 days a week. It is all that I do. So I work pretty diligently with both your schedule and mine to get you a reading as quickly as possible. And I do readings of all different types in all the main areas of life. So shoot me an email if you're interested. We'll go from there. All right, let's get right into this reading. This is for the fire sign of Sagittarius for April 1st through the 15th, the first half of April 2019. Remember to check your rising, moon sign, Venus signs if you know them. Watch those videos. They can provide additional clarification. Oh, Jumper, Sag. Too many cards. Okay, Sagittarius, let's see what's in store for you for the first half of April. Okay, Sagittarius, we begin with the 8 of Pentacles, followed by the 6 of Pentacles in reverse, the 10 of Cups, followed by the 7 of Wands, from the bottom of the deck, your overall energy and guidance for the first half of April is the 9 of Swords. I'm going to pull a clarifying card for why this 9 of Swords is the overall energy or focus for the first half of April, because it represents a lot of stress, anxiety, worry. Swords is governed by the element of air, and in the tarot, air energy represents mental, psychological energy, what goes on up in our heads, how we look at things, our belief systems, perceptions, ideologies, because that affects the way that we communicate with the world and everyone in the world. Mental, cerebral, psychological energy. The 9 of Swords is a card that represents a lot of stress, anxiety, and fear. I always say I hate to see it come out because it's usually regarding fear of an unknown future, and it's typically, you know, pre-writing the script for a future, and it's always the worst possible outcome, fearing the worst. What am I going to do if this happens? What am I going to do if that happens? Trying to imagine every worst possible case scenario and what you might do in case that happens. A lot of stress, anxiety, and fear. But the positive aspect to the 9 of Swords is that it is somewhat illusionary because it is energy of the mind. So while the source or the subject of the stress, anxiety, fear, and worry might be valid, the 9 of Swords usually comes up when you're blowing it up. You're making it bigger and worse in your head than actually is reflected in the reality of the situation. It's not that bad. And typically too, the 9 of Swords can represent, because everything on a tarot card is symbolic. Absolutely. The cards are flipping all over the place. Absolutely everything is symbolic on a tarot card. You could spend hours and hours just on one. And in relation to everything around it too. You can see that there's a little owl sitting on the windowsill here right next to this woman who's sitting up in the middle of the night because she can't sleep, because her thoughts are just going around and around, chasing each other, dwelling obsessively on the same thing over and over again. Now, owls are one of those universal symbols of wisdom, truth, enlightenment, and answer, solution, insight. But she's not even paying attention to this owl. She's not looking at the owl because she's completely consumed with whatever these fears, worries, anxieties are, as symbolized by all of these swords, these thoughts, these ideas kind of chasing around in her head. So not only is it not as bad as you're making it out to be in your head, or you're focusing on it way too much, especially the worst possible negative scenario, the owl represents that there may be something, some insight or clarity or a solution that you're not seeing because you're only caught up in the fear and worry about that. And I feel like it's about either a lack of recognition, or you're putting in too much work into something and maybe feeling like you're not getting compensated enough in return if it's an actual job or money-making thing, or perhaps in the home environment if you feel like you're doing all the work to kind of keep the household going or supporting it. It looks like there's perhaps an unevenness that you're feeling in terms of give and flow. But let's pull a clarifying card for this Nine of Swords. Like you're putting in more than the other side or the other person, or you know, perhaps doing too much work at work and not getting compensated equitably for it. These are general readings, and there's many of you watching, so for some of you it's going to play out a little differently than others. Some of you it might be within your home, family system, or relationship. Others of you it may be in an actual job or workplace situation. All right, clarify the Nine of Swords. Well, one just jumped right out. The Six of Wands in reverse. Makes sense. So in the upright position, I don't know if it's my hands or your energy, Sagittarius, but the cards are just kind of flipping all over. So in the upright position, the Six of Wands is typically a card of victory and success after a struggle or a challenge of some kind. It's also a card that represents recognition. It could be public recognition in terms of being in the general public eye, you know, winning awards or being publicly recognized, or it could just be recognized within your work or your family system or friend system. But in the reverse, it represents kind of a lack of that. It can also represent negative recognition, meaning that you might be in the public eye or you might be visible within a group of some kind, but it's in a more negative, you're being seen or portrayed in a more negative kind of light. Some of you, there may be some kind of drama playing out, gossip or rumors playing out within a work environment, or perhaps a social media environment or a group of people. That could be the source of the stress, this unevenness and give and take. For a smaller portion of you, for I think more of you, I'm feeling like it looks like you are, or at least feeling overburdened, or not supported enough, or that you're doing more than your share but not getting equally compensated for it, whether that's compensated financially or getting the support or recognition that you need. Especially when I just look at the rest of these cards, we have the Eight of Pentacles and the Six of Pentacles in reverse. So the Eight of Pentacles is the card I usually refer to as the worker bee card, the work card. It can represent working a lot. Perhaps you're putting in a lot of overtime, burning the candles at both ends. It could be a conventional job. It could be as a homemaker. It could be in your own business or a project you're working on. It can be like lots of work, repetitive work, even because you're trying to build up a stable foundation for yourself, paying very close attention to detail. It's hard work, steady work, repetitive work, detail-oriented work, or just a lot of work. Now it's clarified by the Six of Pentacles in reverse. So in the upright position, the Six of Pentacles would represent equal give and take, mutually beneficial relationship. If it's like in a personal relationship or a romance relationship, equal love, equal attraction, equal affection, equal respect. You know, both of you have a pretty healthy, balanced relationship for the most part, and a relationship is perfect all of the time. At work or in a project, it would represent, you know, being fairly and equitably compensated for the work that you do. So in the reverse, it looks like somebody is putting in, or feeling like they're putting in, a lot of effort, and they're not getting enough back, or they're not getting enough support, and they're not getting enough recognition either. Or they may have been called on the carpet or criticized, you know, be recognized in a critical, negative sort of way. And you're feeling, you know, well, I'm doing all of this work, and you know, and I'm not getting enough back, or I'm not getting enough support. And so it's kind of causing a lot of stress and anxiety. For some of you, fear, if it has to do with a job work situation. You might be afraid of, you know, losing your job, or if you speak up or complain, that your job might be in jeopardy, or your place in a project might be in jeopardy, or your relationship. It could be, for some of you, in a personal relationship as well. It's something which affects your home and family environment too, regardless of what that home and family environment is, meaning it might be, you know, an actual house with kids, a husband, a wife, etc. Or it could just be your residential space, or your family if you're providing for other people. Because We have also the Ten of Cups and the Seven of Wands. So the Ten of Cups is the happy home card. Tens represent a cycle kind of coming to culmination or achievement. It can sometimes represent the end of a cycle, although not quite so literally. Sometimes it doesn't mean the end of home harmony or happiness. This actually means the fulfillment or achievement of it, kind of getting to that place where you feel things have finally come together. You're not really wanting for too much else. There's a sense of love and harmony and blessings and abundance and contentment, particularly in your emotional landscape that relates to home and family and relationships of that sort. This is one of the marriage and blessing cards, childbirth, the happy home card. Now what clarifies it is the Seven of Wands, which is a card that has a more defensive energy to it. You can see that this man is holding up a wand in a kind of a defensive posture because he feels like he's being threatened or challenged by these other six wands. Although the interesting thing is that there's a rather anonymous feeling because you can't actually see anybody holding these wands. So it could be, a more subconscious or under the surface sort of fear. But he's standing in the doorway of what appears to be his home, his castle, his keep, or something that he feels very strongly about because he has so much invested in it. And he's defending it because it's being challenged or threatened somehow, or he feels like it is. And it's clarifying the Ten of Cups. So some of you, it might be a literal financial situation, mortgage foreclosure, or, having difficulty paying the rent or being in arrears or something of that kind. You might be afraid that, for some of you, it might be literally related to your job. If you complain about maybe being overworked or underpaid or not supported enough, or maybe they've let people go and you're just taking on a bunch of other people's work, you may be afraid to speak up, or you may be afraid that job loss is imminent or something of that sort, which would put your home in jeopardy and or family in jeopardy as well, the stability and security of that. Some of you may be feeling like you're not being compensated enough for the work you do, in your job, and you're fighting for better conditions or better pay, because fighting for that also is a way of fighting for your home and family, your residence, etc. Some of you, this may be within the home itself. You may feel like you're doing all the work to keep the home and family, up and running, or you're working a job or working two jobs and you're taking care of the home or the kids, whatever the case is, and you're not getting recognized for it. You may be even getting criticized for it, or you feel like you're not being supported or recognized enough for your efforts, the work that you're putting into supporting your home and family for some of you. And there's some defensiveness around that. So it's kind of going to depend on which group of you fall into kind of each of those categories. But the fundamental energy is the same. There's a lot of stress, anxiety, and worry about all the work that you're putting into something which, in one way or another, supports and benefits your home and family, whatever that is to you. The relationship is not equal. You're not getting enough or being supported enough for the work that you're doing. That's what you're putting in. I feel like some of you are afraid to speak out, though, because of the possible consequences, losing the job or causing conflict at work or causing conflict within your home or relationship as well. So let's see. This is what the first couple of weeks of April looks like. A bit challenging. Let's pull an advice card and see what Spirit thinks is the best way to deal with this, Sagittarius. The Eight of Wands. Okay, so some communication needs to be had, a conversation needs to be had wherever possible with the other person or people that are kind of involved in this situation, whether the ones paying you, signing the checks, or whether it's a partner, somebody like that in a relationship where you feel like, there's too much work and burden being placed on you. The Eight of Wands is a card about conversation, communication, sometimes represents travel as well, although I don't think that would apply too much here. So I believe that an honest, open conversation needs to be had wherever possible. If you're in a situation where having this conversation is just absolutely not possible, not because you're afraid, but it's just for some reason not possible, then the Eight of Wands would represent having a conversation with someone else that you trust, that you respect, a trusted friend, advisor, mentor, etc. But to see what the kind of the results and the feedback and the insight you get from this conversation, particularly if it's with the other person or the other side here. And then I think based on what happens during the conversation or what comes out of the conversation, because it's going to be different for everybody, making a decision on how to proceed forward from there. Some of you may be able to resolve this or get a more equitable support system in place or compensation. Or you may in fact decide to make, you know, some bigger changes on leaving the situation if it's not changing. So Sagittarius, that pretty much wraps up your first half of April 2019 general reading. I hope that you found it helpful and useful. Remember that all of this energy in the Nine of Swords does not need to be this high. Remember that there is an answer, a solution, some insight. There is a path out of this, and try not to kind of dwell on it so obsessively, particularly in the worst possible negative outcome, because I don't think for the majority of you it's going to work out that catastrophically. And I think for a lot of you some good things will come out of this conversation and communication, whether it's directly with the other person or party, or with it somebody else whose advice and feedback and insight that you trust. So again, Sagittarius, if any of you are interested in a more personal one-on-one reading with me, click on the description link below or the About button on my YouTube channel's homepage. You can email me directly at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I'd be delighted to work with you. I do love and romance, of course, compatibility charting, career, work, and finance, as well as investment readings, gift readings. And I also offer 6 and 12-month overviews, which take a look at what's coming in all the main areas of your life over a 6 or 12-month period, depending on how far ahead you want to look. And you can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo, which has a few different options for readings there, but most clients seem to find it handy for quick answers to quick, easy questions. But for something in-depth or complex, a more traditional reading is probably best. So a few different things to choose from. So Sagittarius, I'll see you all in a couple of weeks for the April 2019 mid-month readings, where we will look at the last half of April. And until then, I hope you have a beautiful, blessed, happy couple of weeks. And I hope to see you back here again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.